Forrest was a guy that, you know, really, really had our back.
Oh.
I mean, everyone knows that we have in the past and still do to some extent get a lot of internet hate. And some of our friends stick up for us. Some of our friends sit on the sideline but still love us. Forrest was on the front line. I mean, when someone shit talked us, he attacked. I mean, because he knew the truth. He knew that,
and he wasn't afraid to say it.
Yeah, and I seen him attack people in front of me. Call them out about that. And that was
special.
It was
It's
a
rare.
special thing to. He had nothing to gain. He was just being a true, genuine friend. And he was also the guy that I would call every time I was like, hey, do you know where I can get this animal?
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm going to go to the zoo. Do you have a connection? He was the guy that I could rly on every single time.
That's kind of what stood out to me about him was like, it was so crazy to me of his brain was a reptile dictionary.
It really was. I mean,
thesaurus.
You got
this. Oh yeah, definitely.
No, he was. He knew so much.
He's very similar to you, where like you could talk forever. Like I guarantee, like if you put you two in a room,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's happened
and
countless
it did.
of times.
Believe me,
Yeah.
those
You guys
two
would
in a
just talk
room. Yeah,
for
I was just like, oh my
3
God.
days.
And some of the coolest stories I've ever heard were from both of you together.
Yeah, and
for
that's
sure.
the thing. I mean, we obviously traveled a lot together, Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
Africa, and like I said, I was looking forward to bringing up some of those stories next week when he was on the podcast because, it sucks because, there were a couple experiences that happened on some of our adventures together that only me and him experienced, There was no one else around but us. And I'm going to tell you one story real quick. And it was I talked about almost dying in Africa. I'll tell you the quick story of it. And in the levity that he brought to it, it was amazing. Probably one of the most memorable things I've ever happened. So it's going to start with the fact that South Africa is very dangerous, especially driving at night, So police will pull you over and kill you and steal your stuff. So they don't rob you, they kill you and take your money. Police will do it. Tow trucks will do it. Other passengers, whatever. If you have a flat tire, you drive on your flat tire, you do not stop because you could die. And that's just the truth. That's not. I love South Africa. Love South Africa. So we're down in Durban. And it's just me and Forrest with some friends from a place called Ultimate Exotics. Great guys. They had hosted us down in Durban. We had a really good time, but we were going to head back to Johannesburg. And in the morning, Forrest was looking for a zoo that he had that wanted a 15-foot Nile crocodile. Had to be 15 plus foot. So we were going to go visit some Nile crocodiles, some farms, and see if he could find a big Nile crocodile. So we had to be back in the morning, and it was about a 5-hour drive. So we decided that we were going to head out, in the afternoon and drive. Well, it was evening actually. And just by happenstance, a friend of mine in a place called Moy River, which was about 2 hours north of Durban on the way to Johannesburg, literally right off the road, asked us to stop by. And thankfully, I did. Well, in one way, thankfully, I did. In another way, maybe this whole situation would have happened if I didn't stop, But we stopped. We had a quick dinner. And he had told me, he reiterated, do not stop if something happens. People will kill you, And so we left Moy River, and we were about 45 minutes away, and it's nighttime now. And sure enough, Forrest is driving, and out of nowhere, this huge chunk of steel is in the middle of the road. He crushes it.
He pulls an Aunt Becky.
Yeah,
Runs right over it.
rips the freaking gas tank off the car.
Guess what? You're not driving with no gas tank.
Yep.
Nope, they tried, but
literally
it
the car
stopped.
dies. And we pull to the side of the road, and you can smell gas. It's scary, And to kind of put it into perspective, about every 45 miles there's a gas station or service station. We literally are right across from a gas station. So we now pretty much are sure we got sabotaged, right? Like we got someone put that in there, so we would break down there, and now we're in trouble. So we first thing I do is I call the rental car place. And they put me on hold, and then they say we'll call. Then they say we'll call you back. The next call I make is to Paul, my friend from White River, who's a very wealthy guy. And he goes, get into the gas station, do not stop, do not talk to anyone, and I will have someone come get you. I know someone that's about 15 minutes away. A tow truck driver about 15 minutes away. He goes, I'm reiterating, do not stop and talk to anyone. So as we're walking up to the gas station, and I've got my backpack, it's got my laptop, my cameras, everything else.
Yeah.
But our luggage is in the car, and I'm like, fuck it, if they want to steal our luggage, let them do whatever they want to do. And so as we're walking up, sure enough, we got these 4 native guys kind of surround us as we're walking into the thing. And so we like really hurry up and get into the gas station. And I'm on the phone. I'm calling, Paul back, like, dude, I think we're in trouble. These guys are here. And as I'm in the gas station, the 2 of the guys are literally at the door, staring at us through the door. And so he's like, all right, my guy's on the way. I then call Lori, actually, and poor Lori. And I'm just like, hey, Lori, I don't know if we're gonna live.
Literally, that's how he answers the phone.
Oh my God.
I answer the phone. He's like, oh my God, I'm freaking out right now. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
I literally might die. I just want you to know. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? Right now? Like, what is going on? And he tells me this story, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, literally, you call me so I can hear you die? Like, this
and you can't call 911. There's no 911, and they might kill you too. So we're pretty screwed. So let me just stop right there for a second and back up. Now, there's a movie that's called War Dogs.
War Dogs,
Okay,
yeah.
It's with Jonah Hill. And
it's a good movie.
It's based on a real story.
Oh, yeah, I do know it.
They're
I do
like
know it.
gun runners for the government.
Yep.
They're like buying, doing gun contracts and stuff like that. And there's this one part where their guns get confiscated in Jordan. They need to be in Iraq.
Yep.
And so then they're gonna
movie,
they end up getting this guy named Marlboro who was gonna truck them through the Triangle of Death to get to Baghdad with these guns because they needed to get the guns to Baghdad and they didn't want to lose the money and stuff like that. Now, as they get into the thing, Jonah's like, everything's going to be good. The other guy, I don't know what his name is like, is this safe? We're this is, and the guy looks at him and he goes, oh yes, perfectly safe. He goes, oh, so things are going to be good. The guy goes, yeah, 50-50. He goes, what do you mean 50-50?
Yeah.
And he goes, 50-50, we make it,
Yeah.
And so the point is that when you're in South Africa, one of the sayings that everyone says is like, if you go, hey, want to go to the store? They'll go, 100%, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And so myself and Forrest through the whole trip were saying, 50-50. Because you go, hey, you want to go to the store? 50-50, So about this thing. So literally this whole thing's going on. Now back to the gas station.
Yeah.
One of the guys walks into the gas station and he does the thing where he's like looking at a product, like picks up a product, but stares at us across the way. And he's slowly getting closer and closer to us. And Forrest is like, dude, if they get to us, we just got to give them everything we have. And I go, they're going to fucking kill us. So we got to fight, And I'm like, and this guy's getting closer and closer. And my anxiety is through the fucking roof. I mean, I'm like, we are going to die. This is the closest to death I've ever gotten. And literally, I look over at Forrest. Now, I mean, it's like really evident something's going to happen. And I look at Forrest and I go, dude, do you think we're going to be fucking okay? And he looks at me and he goes, 50-50. and so my point is that I wanted to tell that story.
So it broke the ice, like, obviously.
It was the first time I smiled through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you're such a fucking asshole, And so interestingly enough, literally seconds after that, the tow truck driver shows up with a gun. Yeah. He comes in, shows up with a gun. And he says, Brian, I said, right over here. The guys run off.
Good.
And so the tow truck driver literally tells the story that he's like, hey, listen, he goes, in this very parking lot, at least once a week, people are killed. He said, this is very dangerous right here. He said, as a matter of fact, last week, some white guys, not they were still South Africans, were, what they do is they put tires around you and they pour gas in it and light you on fire.
So it's like a tar pit.
Yeah, and
So weird. Like,
so
hey, why do you
Why don't you
do
just
that?
take the shit right and leave? Why do you got to kill the people?
well,
Torture.
they don't want
Remains.
any evidence.
Evidence.
Yeah, they
It's
because
like evidence,
the
like,
police
what
are
are-
never the
what
police
are
are
the-
never going to do anything.
Right, exactly.
No, that's what I mean. Is like, why do you care about evidence? The police aren't going to do anything in the first
It's just
place.
the way it is. But anyways, point is, I was
Yeah.
looking
But
forward
he
to.
wants me to
So
go there.
dumb.
But okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Well, I love it.
Oh,
but
I love it.
It seems like a good place though.